What if $2,000 a month was never really about the money? Most people hear that number and think about discipline, budgeting apps, giving up bubble tea, saying no to weekend trips. But here's something strange. Two people can both save exactly $2,000 every single month, live in the same HGB estate, earn similar salaries, and end up with completely different lives 20 years from now. Same number, different future. So what actually separates them? Let's start with the version of this most of us recognize. You're in your late 20s, working in the CBD, salary somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Rent or mortgage takes a chunk. CPF takes another. After hawker lunches, MRT rides, and the occasional weekend out, you manage to set aside $2,000 consistently, month after month. It feels responsible. It feels like enough. And on paper, it actually adds up to something impressive. $24,000 a year. In 10 years, without a single dollar of growth, that's $240,000 sitting there. That alone would put you ahead of most people your age in Singapore. But this is exactly where the story usually gets told wrong. Because here's the part most people miss. Where that $2,000 goes every month matters more than the fact that you're saving it at all. Picture two friends, same job level, same salary, same $2,000 set aside every month, starting at age 28. The first one keeps it simple. Everything sits in a savings account, maybe earning a small bit of interest, safe, predictable, visible. The second one takes that same $2,000 and consistently puts it into a low-cost, diversified portfolio. Nothing exotic, nothing risky, just consistent, boring monthly investing. For the first few years, you genuinely cannot tell them apart. Their account balances look almost identical. If you only checked their numbers at year 2 or 3, you'd assume they're on the same path. This is usually where people get impatient and assume investing isn't worth the extra effort. But something starts to shift around year 8 or 9. The friend with the savings account is still growing in a straight line, steady, predictable, comforting in its own way. The friend with the portfolio, though, starts curving upward, slowly at first, almost unnoticeable. But that curve keeps bending. By year 12, the gap becomes hard to ignore. This is compounding, and it behaves almost nothing like our intuition expects. Imagine rolling a small snowball down a gentle hill. At the bottom, it barely looks different from when you started, but the snow it picks up doesn't just add to its size, it adds to its surface area, which means it picks up even more snow faster with every rotation. Money invested consistently behaves the same way. Your returns don't just sit beside your savings, they start generating their own returns. And after enough years, the snowball isn't rolling anymore, it's avalanching. By year 20, assuming a modest, long-term average return, that same $2,000 could realistically grow into something well over $1 million. Not because the saver tried harder, not because they earned more, but because their money was working a second job the entire time, quietly, in the background. Here's where most people completely misunderstand this part, though. They assume the magic is in the size of the contribution. It isn't. The magic is in the years the money is allowed to stay invested. Someone who starts at 25 and stops contributing at 35, only 10 years of saving, can end up with more money at 65 than someone who starts at 35 and contributes faithfully every single year until retirement. Same monthly amount, completely different starting point. And the early starter wins, often by a significant margin. That single fact changes how you should think about every year you wait. Now, this isn't a promise that markets only go up. They don't. There will be years where that portfolio drops 10, 20, even 30%, and the saver in the bank account will look like the smarter one for a while. This is usually the moment people panic and pull their money out right before the recovery happens. The people who actually reach that $1 million outcome aren't the ones who pick the perfect investment. They're the ones who simply don't stop. even when the numbers look uncomfortable. So let's bring this back to Singapore specifically, because the context matters. CPF already gives you a foundation, a forced, disciplined layer of long-term saving most people underappreciate until they're older. But CPF alone, for most income levels, won't get you to true financial independence on its own. The $2,000 you set aside outside of CPF is what determines whether you're comfortable in retirement or whether you're actually free decades before that. And that's really the deeper question hiding behind all of this. Not, can I save $2,000 a month? Most working adults in Singapore, with some adjustment to lifestyle, genuinely can. The real question is what you're allowing that money to become. $2,000 sitting idle is just stored effort. It's your time frozen. $2,000 invested consistently is your time multiplying. Same income, same sacrifice, same discipline. But one version of you is working for money forever, and the other version eventually has money working for you. The honest part nobody tells you is that the first 5 years feel almost pointless. The numbers are small. The growth is invisible. It's tempting to believe it isn't working, but every single month you contribute during that quiet period is what allows the curve to bend later. You're not just building savings, you're building the conditions for compounding to eventually take over the heavy lifting. If you're already setting aside $2,000 a month, you've already done the hardest part. The discipline is there. What happens next isn't about saving more, it's about deciding where those $2,000 actually go, and whether you're willing to stay patient long enough to let time do what no amount of extra effort ever could. Because in 20 years, the question won't be how much you saved. It'll be how long you let it grow.